everybody, welcome to season 2 of In the Green Room with Aiden Keene. I'm very excited to start this season off with a good friend of mine, Mr. Matt Stone. He is a
Hey everybody.
fellow Elvis
Thanks for
Tribute
starting.
Artist, and I'm really glad that he's able to be here today. So, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Very excited to talk to you today.
Great.
So, I always like to start off things kind of going back a little bit. And if everybody remembers back in season 1, I talked to Mr. Dwight Eisenhower, who's another fellow ETA, and we kind of started talking about our love for Elvis as a child. And so, Matt, I'm wondering what got you started in this business and your love for Elvis?
Well, I got started when I was 5 years old. I fell in love with all sorts of like classic rock music, and I started playing guitar and just had somewhat of a musical background. And then when I was 12, let me back up. Throughout my whole life, I always watched the show Full House, and eventually, just one day, I just happened to look up after John Stamos sang Jailhouse Rock. I looked up the original version of it. I watched it, and from the movie, Elvis was sliding on the tables and doing all the stuff, and I just thought it was so cool. And that night, I just went home and like put on a little concert for myself in my room, and that was the start of it.
Yeah, I grew up watching Full House too, and that was part of my introduction to Elvis as well. And one of the coolest things, a couple months ago, I got to see John Stamos with the Beach Boys, and
Oh,
that's
that's
what I was
incredible.
thinking
I've seen the
about.
Beach Boys twice, and John wasn't with them either time. It
I've
was a good show, but
I've seen them 9 times, and I've only seen John once, so
uh,
it was
yeah, the
definitely.
coolest time for me seeing the Beach Boys was this private fundraiser event that they did. I
Mhm.
just happened to see on a Facebook group somebody posted a QR code to a private link for a Beach Boys concert, and it was in this little room in West Palm Beach that seats like 200 people. And I checked their tour schedule and I saw that they were going to be like in the area the following day, so I knew it was legit. And I went ahead and got tickets, and they were, about the price of the middle rung Beach Boys tickets, like $300 or something. I was 5 rows back. Like I was
Wow.
right there, and it was so cool because they just walked in the front door. Like Mike and Bruce literally just walked in the front door and walked up to the stage and just like started talking to people. I was like, "Hey guys."
That's awesome.
Bruce greeted me by saying, "Hey Elvis."
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's like,
So
huh?
it started off with Full House and doing that. So we kind of all, I'm sure, as ETAs had that moment where live
Yeah.
performing really clicked. When was your first click moment doing a live Elvis performance?
So I went to an open mic night with a friend of mine. We decided that we were going to start a band, and it was just two guitar players, so not much of a band. But he liked Nirvana. I liked like Led Zeppelin and a little bit of Elvis. I was like just starting to become an Elvis fan at the time. I knew like a few songs, and we went to an open mic night. And after we did a couple songs together, we did some songs individually. I sang "Stairway to Heaven," not an Elvis song, obviously, and the crowd liked it, even though I couldn't sing at all. I guess they were impressed with my guitar playing. And it was a slow process of learning to sing. And as time went on, I just kept going back to this open mic night and started to build to like nursing homes and stuff that I could do a young Elvis show. And it was still a variety of other things, like I was doing Dion and Sam Cooke and a little bit of Bobby Darin and Del Shannon and a lot of other things. I think a lot of it in my head because when I first got started out, I like to say that I was like more of an ETA fan than an Elvis fan, and then I like that total paradigm shift in like 2020. But a lot of like what Dean Z was doing, like with the Dean Z show, was kind of what I was mimicking, like a variety show kind of themed around Elvis. And I was doing this at nursing homes and stuff. And in 2020, when everything got shut down, I just like started digging into the Elvis material and just really fell in love with it and just kind of became super authenticity focused, where I wanted to do everything right. And like it was at that moment that I completely stopped watching other ETAs and just only started watching Elvis and started to obsess over the littlest details. And really, it was just, 2020, there was something else to do. I just was,
Right.
bored and wanted to do something, and that's what I did. And it really opened up a lot of doors for me. And when I came back to performing in like 2021, or December of 2020, I played at this theater. It was a 100-seat theater. I did it with tracks for $400. So like basically, I was playing at a 100-seat theater for like basically a higher end nursing home pay. uh, and they were like, "Oh no, it's COVID. Like we don't know if anybody's gonna show up." They wanted me to sing with a mask on,
Really?
and I said, I can't breathe. Like I can't do folk salad Eddie with a mask on.
Yeah.
I'll stay however many feet back from the crowd you want, but I cannot sing with a mask on." But from there, then I think I still did a couple like festivals when I came back. Played at Elvis Week. It was in the Ultimate. Uh, Never went back to that again. Just stopped doing the contest. I didn't think they were necessary, and I didn't think that the money to go was worth what you would get, even if you won first prize. And also just like seeing shady stuff behind the scenes, like not necessarily at the Ultimate, but like other contests as well. Just like I didn't like the vibe of it. Um, and then I just started playing more, tiny theaters, track venues, and in November of 2022, a couple months after I got out of the Ultimate, I did my first show with a live band that I'd put together, and things just started to happen and started to click.
Very cool. And I get that about the contest because I just did my first in May at the Empire State Tribute Festival. And
That was funny enough. That was my first festival as well, but it was Lake George
Lake
at the time.
George,
It was
right,
2018. Yeah,
right. But it's an interesting thing competing. I did it kind of to make the connections and get to know some people. And that was my goal in doing it. But the competing thing, I get what you're saying because it's definitely kind of an acquired taste, so to speak, I guess.
for sure.
And
And
I'm not sure that I'm going to stick with the competing thing either, but
yeah, I mean, my mentality was just well, for one, I'm not sure. You live in New York, right? Or are you in
I'm in
Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, okay. In upstate New York, do you know James Cawley by any chance?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, I played with James in July of 2022, a couple of weeks before I qualified actually for the Ultimate, and then I went to the Ultimate and never went back again. But James told me during that show that I did, we played at the July 4th event for the city of Ticonderoga, New York, which is where he's from.
Mm.
And he asked me, if you're a professional, why would you compete for free in somebody else's contest to make them money? I was like, that's a really good question. Why would you do that? And he was like, yeah, competing, only amateurs have something to prove by going to win a contest. Like, you really don't need to do it. And I didn't listen to him for like a few months. And then I just like started to think more and more about it, and I started to like get gigs and actually focus on the business side of things. I was like, okay, I already did my due diligence by playing at a handful of festivals and meeting some people. And I think that festivals are a great way, like when you're just getting started, to get like that first 500 followers on Facebook,
Mm.
like as a base to get your foot in the door with the Elvis world. But like once you get past that, it's just like it's not fun. And a lot of guys make competing their whole life, really. There are so many guys who like they go and they play at festivals, they compete in festivals, they're not headlining,
Mm.
but they don't play any gigs themselves.
Yeah.
They're like their whole life is just, I'm gonna compete in this festival, that festival, this festival, that festival every weekend in June, July. They're going to a different contest trying to qualify for the Ultimate. And eventually they get to be 60 years old and EPE doesn't want them anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I want to go back to that you had mentioned is the accuracy, because when I watch your performances, I've never seen it in person, but online, it's the accuracy is what stands out. I mean, everything from
Thank
the
you.
band to your set lists to the jumpsuits, everything is just spot on.
Thank
And
you.
you know, I, how did that how does that research process come about? What does that look like for you?
Well, I think it started in like 2019 or it might have been 2018, honestly, at the nursing homes
Mm.
when I got my first RE15 microphone. Or actually, it was an RE10, which is like a look-alike, but slightly less quality that they were making
Yeah.
at the time. And all of a sudden, like that little thing just felt more right than using a wireless system. And then it became, okay, well, why don't I sing the songs in the same suits that Elvis wore?
Mm.
And why don't I format this and this and that? Because a lot of it, like I said, I was such a big ETA fan. And then I became like a super hardcore Elvis fan. I started to realize, why are all these guys doing things? Like I thought it was cool, you know, it was good entertainment. It's like that's not what Elvis is doing.
Right.
And a lot of people, they'd say things to me like authenticity is boring. It's like, wait, Elvis, you're attributing Elvis, who you claim to be the most dynamic entertainer to ever walk the face of the earth. But you're saying that you, whatever your name is, you know, that you singing at, you know, the Mexican restaurant or whatever, you can improve what the greatest entertainer of all time did and make his show better because you think that it needs to be more entertaining than what Elvis did. And that just seems so wrong to me. Especially with arrangements, like you see a lot of ETAs, they change arrangements of what Elvis was doing. They
Right.
try to make it their own. And people aren't buying tickets to see that. They're buying tickets to see Elvis.
Hmm.
They're not buying tickets to see, you know, Joe Smith or whatever your name is. They're buying tickets to see Elvis, so you should be wanting to give them Elvis and not putting your own spin on it, in my view at least, because to me, that's just like a big middle finger to Elvis.
Right.
Like you're gonna get there and you're gonna, you know, put on the sideburns and the jumpsuit and the jewelry and all these things just to say, you know what, I'm better than Elvis because I think I can improve the perfection that he already had. Like, no, he can't be improved. Just do it exactly how he did it. And that started to expand to the band, like I said with the arrangements. Uh, we just try to do everything exactly like Elvis did. And if my guys start to add, you know, something of their own, it's like, oh, I think it'd be cool to do this. It's like, are you better than Ronnie Tutt? Are you better than James Burton? I don't think so. They were the greatest supergroup ever put together of musicians. Just played exactly like them. And like, I just had a talk with one of my guys a little while ago because I was like, you gotta cut out the shredding. Like, there's a lot of excessive shredding going on that I don't like. I want it to sound like James Burton and things like that.
Yeah, I get that too. And it's one of the things that there are people in the business, and I'm not saying that I've met any directly, but I know that they exist that kind of, I'll just say they think that they are Elvis. And I think that's one of the cool things about you. You know that there's never going to be another Elvis, but as long as you're doing this, you can make it as realistic, as authentic, and as memorable as possible. And
Right.
that's
And I
amazing.
think that's another thing that a lot of these guys their head gets so swollen because of the you know, the fans or whatever. You know, maybe they were like, you know, a bullied theater kid or something in
Mhm.
school. Like, and I was a theater kid in school, and I say that like with all love for theater kids. But like all of a sudden they've got like all these, you know, fans throwing themselves at them and all these things. It swells up their head a little bit, and they feel all of a sudden as if they're so great that they can start to put their own spin on things, and that just seems wrong to me. And I have nothing but love and respect for people like Jake Rowley or you know, guys who don't put on the costume and
Mhm.
then they go out and do it their own way to literally tribute Elvis.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna spend the money on the jumpsuit, the wig, the jewelry, all that stuff, and then you're gonna try to like be yourself, that just seems dumb to me.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you and I are actually we're fairly close in age, and I'm still building my Elvis show here in
Mhm.
Massachusetts, and
It's
there
a
are
hard
other.
market, man. I've been
It
trying to get to
is.
Massachusetts for years, and every venue I reach out to, they say, yeah, the tribute thing just doesn't do it here.
I've gotten that answer, or there's already other Elvis people that
That's
play there.
another thing.
So I'm
And
still
also,
in
you get
that.
that weird dynamic up in New England where there's a lot of free concerts in the park in the summertime.
Hmm.
So they say, oh, you don't want to play in the winter because everybody's in Florida. But if you want to play in the summer, then you're competing with a free concert,
Right.
and nobody's going to buy tickets for yours. So it's a weird thing there that like I've been trying to break through, and I haven't had any success in.
Yeah. I mean, I have done those summer concerts, those free things, and they are fun, and it's a great way to build a fan base. But a business, I don't know.
Right. Right. And also, a lot of those places, the free concerts in the park, they do have a limited city budget.
Mhm.
And a lot of time that budget only allows for, you know, somebody who's local to break into it. So if you're trying to put together a schedule, like if you're from Florida and you want to go to Massachusetts, it just like makes it even tougher to break into. And New York's very similar outside of the city.
Right. Right. And it's a challenge for me in that regard because, you personally have helped me out in the look area. You've helped me out with, the Elvis clothing, and I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely, man.
But it's really hard for me to build a production because if I'm playing small restaurants and dinner clubs and things, I
Hmm.
can't have that whole band behind me. You know,
Absolutely. And a lot of it is my first performing arts center that I ever got to buy the show. Like honestly, that email that I sent to them was just a big fat lie. I used footage from I think the Ultimate probably, or name that festival. I used footage from that to build a promo video
mm,
to make it look grander than it was and to pitch it as grander than it was. To demand a price that was bigger than it was. Um, and it was, hundreds of emails sent out to different places, and I finally got one bite on that, and then that just like changed everything. So a lot of it, I guess, is just like pitching what you want as if it's something that you already do.
I see that. And that kind of leads me to my next question that I'm very interested in. And it's kind of the entrepreneurial side of this whole business, which it's pretty much overlooked by most fans, I would think.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so you're producing these full-scale productions, working with theaters. What is that like for you, and how difficult is it?
Well, I've talked about this a little bit in other interviews where what I started doing was renting venues and then putting my show in myself and footing the bill for the whole thing. But in order to do that, it's a lot of risk, and you also have to have something of a marketing background
Yeah,
or have the budget to hire somebody else to do it, which is a whole other issue. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have the budget to rent the venue, let alone pay for a marketing team to do it. Luckily, I've always been very interested in social media and how it works and marketing and everything else. So it kind of came naturally for me to be able to do that. But yeah, working with theaters is certainly interesting, and a big part of the business is just being able to get along with people, I
yeah.
guess. And I've only had a couple moments where I get absolutely frustrated with somebody at a venue. Played a place in California in September, and it was run by the city. It was one of the worst venues I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with. Not because they were like unprepared, but just because they were like overprotective of every little thing in the venue. But we just had to, let it roll off your shoulder, and I don't intend on going back, honestly, even though it was a good show, we made money. But yeah, I mean, just treat everybody well and make sure that you're agreeable. And that's another thing for musicians. One one of the biggest things is that when you're dealing with musicians, a lot of people in the business are just absolute jerks, and they don't know how to get along with people. And that kind of thing like gets around fast. And the musicians that I use now are like all very agreeable, happy people.
Mm.
And that just makes life easy when you don't need to deal with any kind of drama. If you see something that's going to be a problem, you can usually see it right from the start, and then you can cut it out.
And I've dealt with that because of, commitment issues and, just that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to let go of a piano player earlier this year because it happened probably four times, five
Mm.
times, where 2 days before the show, he's like, "We never confirmed this." I'm like, "Yeah, we did. Here's the message, screenshot," where he thumbs ups the message, that kind of thing. And once it happens once, like you're kind of like, "Ugh," and then after a little while later, it just keeps happening and happening and happening, where you just need to cut those people early. And I agree with you that that's really the best thing to do because there's a lot of players out there, and as long as they're willing to learn, that's all you really need. Like they don't need to know the Elvis stuff right now, but as
Right.
long as they're willing to learn it, then you're good.
And, to kind of put a positive spin on it too, one thing that I've found is, going through some of these members, I have found people that have become lifelong friends because of their commitment and their
For sure.
dedication, and they've stuck with me and they're still here. And
Yeah, some of my musicians are some of my my best friends,
Yeah.
and that I really love him a lot. And it was funny, just a little while ago, I found a picture because in I think it was 2022, no, might have been 21. I think it was 2021. I played at the Louisiana Bayou King Festival. Have you ever heard of that
Yep.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the band there is a band called the King Creole Orchestra.
Mm.
And I found this picture of me playing there, and on the drums and on the bass are my drummer and my bass player. And like we didn't meet at all during that festival. We didn't start playing together for 3 years. But like who knew we'd be going across the country with each other. And when you see me at I think I was 18, standing there in this really poorly fitting chain suit where the shoulders are like up here. And there's Robert in the back. It's funny.
That's awesome. And another thing I want to ask you too, kind of going back to your being an ETA fan thing. One of my first concert experiences, it wasn't my first concert ever, but one of my first was a little theater in Massachusetts that Doug Church played every year.
Mm.
And I saw Doug there, and I believe Leo Days was actually playing with him as well.
Huh?
And that was my first experience with seeing a form of Elvis tribute on stage. And I'm wondering who was your first ETA connection that may
Uh-oh.
have, yeah.
So the very first Elvis that I ever saw, I have to say, was a massive disappointment.
Mm.
And the second Elvis I ever saw was also a massive disappointment. I won't name names here.
Yep, yep.
But so the first one was at a local barbecue festival. It was this guy who was wearing a Halloween costume, but he had a full band behind him.
Okay.
And he did this thing, much to my dismay, where he had songs from other artists, like 80s artists. I remember that he sang In the Ghetto
Mhm.
lyrics over the band playing Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. And
Okay.
every single song was not an Elvis song. It was Elvis lyrics with this, corny Elvis guy singing over this band playing 80s music. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one there, and it was like a barbecue. It was a barbecue festival or something. It was a rib fest. Um, Poor guy. And then the second one was this guy who is he's kind of a staple of South Florida, I guess you'd say, or Florida in general. He's kind of a staple of Florida. He's not known at all like within the ETA world, so like nobody would have any idea who I'm talking about, but his show is just like it's not good.
Mm.
He plays a lot of like really reputable venues, which is surprising. Um, but his show is just kind of it's an 80s Elvis tribute show, if that makes sense. It's like the kind of Elvis tribute show that you would put on if Elvis had just died, but you had no footage to base him off of, and you were just like trying to make it up as you went along and just like, shake your hips. And his show hasn't changed in like the past 30 years. It's still
Mm.
exactly the same. And all the songs are in like way lower keys. The guy's probably, I don't know, mid 60s,
Oh wow.
something like that. Like he sings Hurt like 3 steps down. It's like if you have to sing Hurt 3 steps down, just don't sing Hurt. Like nobody's gonna miss it.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
But the first show that I saw that I actually enjoyed was probably at Lake George Tribute Festival, or at that point it was Lake George Elvis Festival
Yep.
when they still had the licensing. Uh, and headlining that festival that year was Cody Dahaneth,
Mm.
Taylor Rodriguez, Riley, I think,
Yep.
Dwight Eisenhower, and Dean Z.
Wow.
So it was a good lineup
Mm.
as far as like the tribute thing goes. And I think my favorites of that festival were Dwight and Dean for sure. I remember just being enamored by Dean Z's entertainer ability, and also enamored by just Dwight's vocals.
Yeah.
Just they're like, I mean, I think he sang "There's Always Me" or something, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, now we're talking. We're getting somewhere with this.
Dwight's incredible, and he's been a great friend and mentor to me as well. And I haven't seen Dean yet live, but I hope to. and we've
Yeah,
spoken
his show is
before.
very different now than it used to be because like this is pre Dean Z doing Jumpsuit.
Mm,
It's like there was a really long time where he didn't do Jumpsuit at all until
right.
like 2021 or something. So he wasn't even doing that yet, and his show was a lot more Dean Z and a lot less Elvis, and I think he's slowly become more Elvis as time has gone on, which is got a fuzz flying around me. He's become more Elvis as time has gone on, which I like. I love, but it's still like a souped up, entertainery version of Elvis. Where I think my show would differ from Dean's is he's trying to give people an all around view of like if you have to encapsulate Elvis's entire career and give people who like aren't necessarily super hardcore Elvis fans a good idea of Elvis, then they'll come away from the show feeling really good and excited. Where with me, I'm trying to show people if you had actually seen the real Elvis, this is probably what it would have been like,
Right.
rather than, the dancers and the lights and all that. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a different approach, and it's a great approach, but it's different than what I wanted to do.
Mm. I think I have a feeling I might know the answer to this one, but I'm curious. My audiences here, I would say, are probably ages 60 and over, people that were there when Elvis was
Yeah,
alive, even people who have seen Elvis before, which is always really cool. But there's people younger than I am, and I'm wondering, do you feel a sense of responsibility in carrying Elvis's legacy on to new generations?
absolutely. And I also feel that a lot of the younger fans are bigger fans than the older fans.
Yeah.
If you have conversations with these like young Elvis fans, a lot of them who like became fans because of the movie or whatever, they are like they're legitimate. Like they know their stuff. Where a lot of these other fans like they haven't actually sat down and watched an Elvis concert or watched Elvis footage in like 30 years.
Right.
Or they haven't seen Aloha since it was broadcast on TV. Um, then they might like they listen to Sirius XM Elvis radio, but that's about the extent of their fandom. Where these younger fans are like they're hungry, like they're like me, like they are hungry to find out and listen and watch as much as they possibly can because like they missed it. So I absolutely do feel a responsibility to those fans to create an Elvis show um, that they feel good about. An Elvis show that they can watch and feel like, yeah, this looks like the footage that I've been watching, as opposed to and another thing that kind of bothers me. I think a lot of people they're so they're microscopically focused on the Elvis that they listen to. A lot of people like just listen to Aloha, for example. Where like my show is fully that's the way it is, and
Mm.
Elvis's voice is totally different than Aloha. So people be like, "Why are you singing so raspy?" It's like, because he did. Like that's what he did.
Right.
And his inflections are totally different. Like on "I Can't Stop Loving You," um, it later on it became "So I'll Just Live My Life," but in 69 70 it's "So I'll Just Live My Life." Do. And it's little things like that where the show is like it's different. It's a different period where some of the older fans, it's almost a reminder to them like, hey, you should go watch That's the Way It Is again.
Mm.
And yeah,
That's really cool. That's awesome, and it's unique, and I really hope to see it sometime.
I know,
Uh,
right? I got to get up there. I really do.
I have some theater ideas that I'll send you after the interview because I want to see you out here.
Yeah, that would be great. I've got a lot of fans in Boston because I live in Florida, so a lot of there's a lot of snowbirds who live up there in the summertime who are always trying to get me up there, and especially Boston and Jersey, both of those are I've got a ton of fans there, and I just haven't been able to break through into the market yet.
Well, don't give up. Don't
I
give up.
won't.
But I know many of those snowbirds. In fact, I've gotten messages from some of them sending me pictures of you on stage saying, "Do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So you're doing great, and they love you. So
Thank you.
I have one more question for you, and we're getting towards the end of 2025. Do you
Mhm.
have any big projects planned for 2026, expanding on this, or just keep rolling with the that's the way
Well,
it is?
this is kind of an announcement that I haven't told anybody yet, so I suppose I'll announce it here.
Right.
Over the past few months, I did write a book about Elvis. It's all about the year 1971. So it's supposed to be like, have you ever read like Careless Love, for
Mm,
example?
yeah.
So, um, if you were to take Careless Love and then expand it a lot, and then go through, basically what my approach was I went through Careless Love and I went through Elvis Day by Day, both written by Peter Grolnick. I
Yep.
got a whole calendar of Elvis's life out, and I just kind of like rewrote Careless Love at first so I can get the loose narrative. And then using that calendar, I went through the books of every single person who was there: Priscilla, Sonny West, Dr. Nick, Joyce Bova, Barbara Lee, um, the Memphis Mafia interviews. I just went through like this really thick amount of source material, and especially a lot of books that like nobody ever reads. Like Barbara Lee's book, I've never met a person who's read Barbara Lee's book about Elvis, and I didn't even know that she had one until I Googled it in the process of writing this. And I just kind of took all of their stories and I was able to weave them into this really elaborate timeline that Peter Grolnick was able to put together with Elvis Day by Day. And it was amazing how like their timelines were actually lining up. It's like, oh, the first week of June, I went to Palm Springs to do this with Elvis, and then Peter Rolnick's book is like Elvis flies to Palm Springs on June 2nd or whatever it was, and like all of a sudden things started to line up, and then Barbara Lee is like, oh, second week of August I left blah blah blah, and then Joyce's book is like the second week of August I came in. And everything just started to line up. It was the coolest experience to write this and just create this elaborate timeline. So that's going to be out hopefully early next year. It's being published right now. They're going through the whole editing process and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And in keeping with the theme of this 1971 book, I am going to be doing a limited run of shows, changing my format to 1971, which is going to be so so cool. But I do feel like in my heart I'm not done with 1970 yet.
Yeah.
So I think for because I do go back to a lot of the same venues,
Hmm.
the venues that I've been to before, the show's gonna switch to 1971, and
Okay.
then the venues that I haven't been to, it will remain in 1970. Um, and we'll see where it goes from there. But that's part of the goal, and also just to bring the show to new territories like Boston, like Jersey, and when I was looking at earlier this year, I made, or no, it was like a month ago, I made a tour map of all the places that I've played and will be playing. And I noticed that there were like large swatches
Mm.
that were completely uncovered. Uh, New England being a huge amount of that, and also Colorado, Utah, Nevada, um, Kansas, Nebraska, like that area of the country. I
Mm.
guess it'd be like I don't know if you'd call that Midwest or West,
Yeah.
but wherever it is, I haven't really been there a lot. I've kind of just stuck the South, the Midwest, like Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, and then Texas, and a bunch of shows in California and the West Coast. So the goal is to bring the show to the areas where it hasn't been seen yet.
Very cool. And congratulations on that book. Really.
Thank you.
And good luck
I'm
on it.
really excited for it. It's gonna be a cool thing to have to be able to add Elvis author to my bio.
Absolutely. I actually got to meet Peter Relnick a couple months ago.
Really, that's
He
cool.
did a book talk about an hour
For
from where
Elvis
I
and the
live.
Colonel?
Yes.
Cool, yeah,
Yeah.
I've got it right over here. I haven't had a chance to read it yet because I had to read like 6 books. No, how many was some of the books I like just found the part about 70, 71, 72,
Mm.
just in case like they got anything wrong timeline wise. And I just read those swatches of the books, but some of them I went through the whole thing. So I've been doing a lot of Elvis reading lately, and I haven't had time to go through the Colonel book yet. But I'm looking forward to it because Alana Nash's Colonel book is one of my favorites.
Mm. Yeah. Well, the writing process is certainly fascinating, and I wish you nothing but the best for it. I
Thank you.
look forward to reading that.
Thank you. I'll send you a copy.
That would be great. So thank you, Matt, for being here with me today. This has been awesome, and you're one of the hardest working people on and off stage that I know,
Thank
and
you,
I
man.
really admire that, and I'm sure my
Thank
listeners
you,
will
man.
as well.
I encourage everybody to like, especially the young guys, like I don't wish anybody ill success, so I encourage everybody to just, learn the business side and learn the promotion side because it will go a really long way. Because you'll see a lot of the guys who might be successful, they might not be the best Elvises, but they are the best marketed Elvises. And some of the best Elvises, like, don't play anywhere
Right.
because they didn't learn that side. So try to have an even mix of both studying Elvis and studying the business. There's a great book called this business of touring, I think that I read, and it's very interesting on how to like actually manage the logistics of travel and touring and all that kind of thing that I would recommend to anybody.
Very cool. And I appreciate that too. As someone who's still growing in this business, I really appreciate that.
For sure, man. Yeah, like as soon as you start throwing shows on the calendar that are like out of your area and you need to start coordinating that stuff, like that book will come in handy.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link all of your social medias at the end of this episode so my friends and
Definitely.
followers can keep up with you. And
Thank you.
obviously, we'll be in touch. So I really
For sure.
appreciate your time today.
For sure. Thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Matt Stone on In the Green Room with Aiden Keene. And tune in next week. I have a very special guest whom I haven't announced yet, but it's kind of a surprise for episode 2 of season 2. So until next time, may God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
TCB.